Hi everybody, Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 4 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here today to talk about what I call the most powerful times in our lives. When I'm talking about powerful, I mean the most influential, the times that we can influence our experience the most. And I'm going to suggest this may be a little bit different than what you've heard from other professionals. Because you see, I believe the most powerful times in our lives are often what I call transitions, the times before a situation and afterwards. I mean, I think we've all had the experience of being in a situation and finding ourselves feeling a certain way or saying something or behaving in a certain way that maybe was less than purposeful. We might have been driven by our concerns, our worries, our fears, or just said something that later on we kind of go as, wish I hadn't said that. And the good news is there's a time afterwards that we can look back and have some clarity on that. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20. That means we can look back on situations with a whole lot more clarity than we have sometimes when we're in the middle of them. So one of the most powerful times in our lives is the transition after the situation, where we can look back on it and go, okay, was I really responding in a way that made the statement I want to make about who I am, that I would teach to someone I love? And this is a different question was, did I have a right to be upset, or they had no right to make me feel that way, or, you know, the things that we sometimes do when we look to others and blame them for how we found ourselves reacting. Understandable, but it puts all the power in their hands. I want to take that power back. And I just noticed that sometimes in the middle of a situation, it's hard to stop and become influential and purposeful in the middle of it. If you can, that's wonderful, and I certainly help people get to that point where they can go in the middle of a situation, stop and change. Right now, however, I want to look at the times afterwards and the times before. Another transition. For instance, let's assume you're about to go into a meeting or a conversation or a drive from work to home or home to work or just from room to room. If we looked at those transitions as an opportunity to stop and say, okay, who do I want to be? How do I want to be? What are the qualities and characteristics I want to bring into this situation? Qualities or characteristics that do make the statement I want to make about who I am, so that I'm defining who I am versus being defined by the situation. Qualities and characteristics that I would teach and recommend to someone I love. And then we go into that situation already in what I call the top of the mind. You know, when we're in this reactive state, we're in this lower brain, the lower 20% of the brain. But when we can be purposeful, when we can use that time between one situation and another to pause and ask that question and become more purposeful with respect to who we are and how we are. We're coming from that upper 80% of the brain. This is where we have access to our interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, clarity, confidence, creativity. Matter of fact, it is the clarity about the qualities that we want to bring to a situation that allow us to go into that situation with confidence and respond with creativity. You know, sometimes in a situation, something will happen that we didn't expect. And if we have this prescription of how things are supposed to be and something happens different, we can be thrown off by that. But if we go in confident that we can bring a certain quality or characteristic to life, regardless of what is going on, then when something happens that we may not expect, we're still in that top of the mind and we can respond creatively. So I'm going to suggest you begin to look at those times, what I call the most powerful times in our lives, the times just after a situation and the times just before a situation. The transitions into them, the transitions out of them, and then into another situation, so that you can become the conductor in that particular perspective. You can call upon the quality or characteristic you want to bring into a situation or into the next situation. I hope you're finding these videos valuable. I'm really enjoying bringing them to you. If you do, please hit the like button. As you know, Google and YouTube really pay a lot of attention to how many people like their videos. They recommend them to others based on that. Tell your friends. If you would like me to come and do a presentation on any of the material or that life from the top of the mind philosophy that you've heard me speak about, all you got to do is go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com. Hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in, and I would love to talk with you about that. If you're interested in working with me as a life coach, psychologist, executive coach. Same thing, go to the website, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in, and I would love to talk with you about that as well. In the meantime, here is to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, and creativity to everything you do, and especially the most powerful moments in our lives, life's transitions. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.